Project 202, and we're going to talk about make all customer touch points matter. So thank you, Grant, for being here. So on the make all customer touch points matter, and again, all this is on the website, experiencedriven.com. One optimized channel is no longer enough. All your channels must work seamlessly across the user's journey, and there's more and more channels, I feel like, all the time. Often, even a small pain point in one channel can hurt your overall brand experience. And these include key interactions across your business. It could be call center, kiosk, in person. So when you think about a customer and a customer journey, right, one of your customers, there's some common things. Yes, they're seeing the website. Yes, maybe they're onboarding. Yes, they're signing up. But maybe you're not as in tune to when they call in or when they access your service through a third party. And customers are just trying to get to a goal, right? They have a day. They're going through their life. They're trying to get to a goal. And if you map out any experience, it could be something very small, or it could be across an entire journey. There's always pain points. There are things that work well and don't work well. And you can map these out and visualize these and really help your teams understand where you should be investing and where you should be focused on from this data. Yeah, I have a colleague in San Francisco. He talks about how really your experience is your brand is your experience. I feel like I get that backwards, but every time a customer uses something, maybe they're on the go, they're in person, it's support, it's at home. If one of these experiences is subpar, like their brand is eroding in your mind, right? Like every other, you could have spent so much money on your mobile app, but if they go to do self-service or call in and it's a horrible experience, like that's what they remember, right? That your brand has lost in their mind from that one touch point. And so when you think about customers today and all the different touch points you have, it's actually a pretty hefty job to really have kind of a full omni-channel view and then make sure all those touch points are really hitting on a high note. And so to that, Grant, thank you for being here. So I know Grant's actually been leading kind of a large, and I think the client actually calls it an omni-channel transformation. So sound very large endeavor, and I know it's a major mobile carrier. I kind of wanted to level set. So when you hear omni-channel, what does it actually mean, or I guess what did it mean to this executive in this organization?
Sure. So when I deal with customers, I often see companies that have been in existence for a long time, right? And they build up these business units out of necessity. Somebody gets a responsibility or a subject matter expertise in the airline situation, cargo or gate. In my situation, it's call centers and retail locations and online. And those business units are, kind of built from the ground up, right? And I think when you think about what omni-channel is, for me, I think of it as from many one, right? You've got executives who their compensation is tied to their attrition or their retainment of customers or their employee KPIs. And when you see companies that really do it well, they think of those business units as internal language, right? The customer thinks of your brand as your brand. And so when you see companies that do it well, at this client, they brought in some folks from Apple and Starbucks, and you see companies that are thought of as a seamless experience, right? Everybody has that experience of a broken telco. There's a reason, because of the way that they've been built, that you call into a customer service touch point, and you've got to tell everybody that you talk to what your name is or what your account number is or what your telephone number is, and it's a disaster. And when you have an experience like a lot of people do with the Apple retail store, for instance, those folks are there to serve you, the customer, and empathize with your problem, and they're not motivated by closing the sale and upselling you on products that you don't probably need. Everybody's had the experience of going to the Genius Bar and really getting to understand how to use the product and really having that customer salesperson who doesn't act like the pushy car salesman, right? So I think within the construct of a telco, it's very, very easy to see how they've built up these bureaucracies and how very difficult it is to think about
Yeah,
their business.
Yeah, I was
from a
using
customer perspective.
telco recently, and I'm logged into the site, and it's very typical, right? I had a question, I hit the chat bot, who are you? Okay, he's asked a question, chat bot can't figure out the question, call in. I call in, who are you? Okay, but not only who am I, but what is my 25-digit ID number? Like, I don't know what that is. Well, I can't help you. Like, who has literally anyone from your company ever called in here? How could this not, how is this a problem? Like, how can this not be fixed? Well, okay, so you spend a lot of time with senior executives, especially with like this organization. So why did this mobile carrier kind of decide to embark on the challenge now? They've been around for a while. Like, why now?
Yeah, I think if you look at the telco industry as a whole, there's not a good one to point to, and there's nobody that's standing above the rest. I mean, everybody probably has spot solutions where they're like, they're doing it really well there, but then you go to other business units in that telco and you're like, it's broken. I saw a statistic the other day that really was galvanizing for me, and it was around, in the past 15 years, 52% of Fortune 500 companies have disappeared off the list. To me, it's that, industries that have been disintermediated, like think Tesla with the car industry. I mean, that company has a bigger market cap than GE and Ford and somebody else, I think, combined.
It depends what day it is, but the stock keeps going up.
Yeah,
So
I mean, the stakes are so high. And I think people understand and realize what good experiences are in their normal everyday life. I always think about it in the context of my grandmother going from a rotary phone on the wall to an iPhone, and I'm the most tech-savvy person in our family, and she wasn't blowing me up asking me how to use this iPhone, right? Like, she immediately immersed herself into something that was super easy to use. And I think there are people inside of telcos at the highest level who realize that, like, if we're not going to change now, when are we going to change? We might not be here. So the risk of not changing is very high.
Yeah. Disruption can happen. So Toby, I think we have a poll for this one. Is that correct? Chris? All right, let's see if this works. Yay, questions. All right, so how confident are you that all of your channels are providing customers with the optimal experience? So you're at a company right now, you probably have multiple channels that maybe you're in charge of or not in charge of. How confident are you if you called the call center, you would not have to give a 25-digit ID before they knew who you were? All right, so there's obviously a theme here. It's hard, right? Well, actually, so that kind of goes into the next question. Silos are hard at large organizations. I think maybe a lot of this could be attributed to silos. Like, how do you work across silos kind of to get this more holistic customer experience work done?
Yeah, I think somebody asked earlier about, executive sponsorship, right? And the things that I see with the leaders inside of these organizations that are being successful is you have to be bold, right? To the point of being able to consciously have that thought in the back of your mind that I may lose my job if somebody doesn't like what I'm saying. And we see it all the time, right? There are people that dabble inside of an organization. I mean, the way I see it, people deserve better, right? The people that we're serving with this brand deserve better. And I get almost like angry if I see us going in a channel, in a direction that doesn't serve people, right? I almost have this fatalist view of there should be nobody suffering from the experience that we create within, the applications that we're building. And I think at the end of the day, people really deserve the optimal experience that we can give them.
Well, so when you're assessing kind of a full experience across multiple touch points, like what are some things that you could do to kind of get a handle on, again, where maybe some of those things are working well and some of the things aren't working well and where to invest? And
I mean, I think that from the people that I work with, one woman in particular, I think it starts with somebody at a very senior level being bold and then being able to tell a story, right? Being able to tell a story up to the executives that she has to report to the board, and being vocal in that in that conversation, right? You're almost creating along the way a story that people can relate to, and the same thing going down. She's got to tell her developers every single day why they're doing what they're doing, and if you're gathering the right insights and you're putting the intentionality into the products that you create, and there are designers who really understand the challenges, then those developers should know that, and they should know that there's a purpose here and there's an end game for the things that they're creating, and there's real value that they're adding to the organization. But most importantly, I see when this works really well, there are people that are very succinctly able to tell their executives and the board why this is important, and the risk of failure is really palpable and experienced by everybody. And it really starts with an empathy for the people that you're solving for, right? If you can really understand, I think it was somebody said earlier, I think it was you, that, you know, how do these executives, has nobody ever called into their own call center, right? And that's where it starts. And I think somebody who's really passionate about their industry has been there long enough to really galvanize that truth and marshal people, right? I think of it as a general, you know? I mean, there are people that lead from the front, there are people that lead from the back, and when the bullets start flying, are you out there in front ready to walk into that hail of bullets? And the really good leaders, the ones that are like, I don't want to retire and not have done something great in my life, are the ones that get things done and move fast.
Actually, I have a theory that if every CEO would actually use the products for their company, things might actually get fixed. I was talking to one large company, and they were actually going to go out and do some customer interviews for kind of lower income folks. Of course, the CEO of the company doesn't really fall in that category, so he pulls up in his very nice brand new Mercedes, and the customer experience leader there was like, "I'm sorry, we're going to take my Honda because the neighborhood we're going to." So, but I think it is important for customers, for CEOs, and for executives. To see what's going on the ground. I guess with this customer in particular, or I guess any customer, what are some of the ways to build bridges? Like, how did this person or anyone kind of build the silo across her organization? And I guess maybe what part of the company was she in, and like how is or he or she, and how is that working?
Yeah, I think the easiest way to say it is the person that I respect the most, who has that bold kind of magnetism around solving customer experience challenges, is a woman that I work with in IT, and she gets paid essentially by the business units, the digital business unit, the retail business unit, the call center business units. And I think, for her, it really is, back to my point about storytelling and being bold, is having that ground truth laid out, right? And so Jenny earlier talked about some of the data points that you bring up. And when you have those quotes from the field, from call center execs who are talking to a user, and the user is frustrated as all get out because they started something on .com and it was impossible for them to finish on call center because those actual billing systems or CRMs don't talk to each other. That's real data that is objective from the field, that this IT executive can say, hey, Mr. VP of call center, hey, Mr. Digital, we don't have it right yet. And we galvanize around the same set of data points that we all know to be true, and it's objective, right? You can put up an experience map on the wall and say, this process to change a line in this telco can take people 45 days, and they go through, and the call center reps are going through 15 systems when they're doing that, and there's all these breakpoints along the way, some 47 of them, I think in our case. Those are problems that we can take an action on right now, many of them. Some of them are more strategic, require system integration, require a single source of truth for a CRM or a billing system or something like that. But I think when you really break it down, I hate to go back to it, but it's storytelling, right? That customer experience map tells a story. That persona of a person makes it real, and we empathize with the people that work in our company, that shop at our company, and we realize that we've got to align not only the experience, but also our compensation models, so that we don't have retail store people that are, used car salesmen and don't operate with the customer in mind, like an Apple store retail salesperson will.
It reminds me of, man, I have so many stories about telco. I remember going into one telco, I was trying to get out of my Apple contract because I was moving to Apple, as I think a lot of people have, and the salesperson there was like, I tell you what, I can get you out of the contract for free if you buy these 2 Android phones that are actually free. I'm going to put them on your account. I'm sure that person was incentivized by pushing that Android phone, but somehow there was some loophole where it was like free and it got me, and I was going to pay to break my contract. So I paid the company less, got 2 phones that I basically gave away, and then this rep probably got his points or whatever he was getting at the thing. So being incentivized incorrectly.
Well, and to some of the things that we were talking about earlier around machine learning, that is the great sexiness within an IT organization. Everybody's bringing in IBM to talk about some of that stuff. But most people, especially on the employee systems part, they're not even looking at those foundational elements, right? Like the compensation models, like the basic frustration of starting online and finishing in store. So rather than investing in IBM, machine learning, Watson things, like let's just fix the foundation first so we can get higher up that Maslow's hierarchy of needs someday and have foundational systems that can support it, right?
Hey, Jeremy.
Yes.
Some really good questions has been coming in from the audience, and would like to see if maybe we could just run through a couple of those just really quickly.
Yeah.
So a couple that I thought that would be sort of short answers. Let me see here. Here you go. How do you manage, or how do you measure and monitor omni-channel success? So auditing surveys, Clarabridge.
Yeah, so I think there's a number of tools out there that can give you kind of a holistic view of kind of high-level metrics. So it could be loyalty, fallout, NPS, et cetera. I think a lot of what we were talking about is really kind of deep diving and kind of pulling in some of that qualitative contextual data to kind of map this. I mean, obviously, call center as an example, lots of data points to get there. A lot of people are calling in. If call times are high, although that's actually not always a great indicator because sometimes the call times could be high, but they're providing better quality and your customers are going to be more loyal. So I think it's for us, or for me at least, I think it's always a really good mix of both the quant and the qual. And one is a signal to kind of point you potentially in a direction that you should start heading, but then you should go deeper and find out what those kind of real challenges are.
So the next one that I thought that you could answer very quickly is, here you go. What do you say the difference is between multi-channel versus omni-channel?
Does anyone think there's a difference? I don't know. Who knows the Latin root of those words and why one is different than the other? Sure, yeah, okay, there you go. Right. Well, arguably all channels, right, in some organizations, that's the hard part, right? It doesn't sound like the hard part because it should be a database somewhere, but it's actually getting, when I call into the call center, when I'm online, that's actually pulling from the same source of truth, right? So I don't know. I don't know if I personally see that big a difference between them. But yeah, you are servicing multiple channels. Your customer should have a great experience across all those channels, and those channels should all know who you are. I'm sure many of us here can remember when Amazon didn't remember your shopping cart from your mobile phone to your desktop, right? You're on your mobile phone, and then you go to your desktop, and it did not remember. That was like huge when that happened, and now that seems so ridiculous that that wouldn't happen somewhere, right? Now it's the opposite. Like there's things in my shopping cart, I don't know where they came from. I'm like, I don't remember adding that. Like, where did that come from? No. All right. Okay, cool. Do you move to the next one, or?
No, you can continue.
Oh, okay. I think was there another poll? I think there's a poll about journey mapping. Is that in there, Chris? Or?
Yes, there is. Let me see here.
So whether it's, so we're a big fan of journey mapping, and some of these tools mentioned earlier, some of these automated tool sets will provide a very high level kind of journey map, right, based on certain data points, but journey mapping from a very contextual, qualitative manner as well. So I guess, how many projects involve journey maps kind of based on direct customer insights that are gathered through various means?
Experience maps, as I like to call
Yeah. All right, so more than half is in the middle there, so that's not bad. Very few is the leading one there, so this sounds like something. So what, does anyone want to mention, like what would be a challenge for you to obtain the journey map or map out that entire kind of experience that your customer may be having with your solution? Does anyone want to talk about a challenge they might have there? This is a smart group, they could probably answer your question. No? All right. Well, good. I think we can switch to the next principle.
Yeah,
All right.
please.
Thank you, Grant. I appreciate
Thank
it.
you.